Today we're going to talk some of my own personal backpacking mistakes from 2024, and hopefully I remember in 2025 and we can just kind of make this like a yearly seasonal thing, kind of make a series about it, you know, the mistakes that Maddie makes. And the first mistake is honestly probably the biggest one. It was a winter trip. I was out with my good friends Bo and Nathan, and temperatures weren't overly cold. We were going to a place that we go to quite regularly. We know the area, so the hike in, we tend to go pretty quick. You know, we're busting ass down trail to try and get to camp and, you know, make the most of our camp time. That's kind of our thing when we go on these winter trips. And I let myself sweat. For me, sweating in the winter time is usually an absolute no-no. I tend to hike ridiculously slow in the winter time because I don't want to sweat. That's how you end up with hypothermia. Like I had mentioned before, temperatures weren't overly cold, so it wasn't like a huge dire situation. I was able to, you know, strip down when I got to camp and get myself dried off around the fire, but that little bit of time when I got to camp and I started to cool down and started to realize, oh crap, I've been sweating, I'm starting to get cold. That sucked. That was absolutely miserable. Even in -5, which is about the temperature we were dealing with, being wet and cold was absolutely miserable. Letting myself sweat in the wintertime, that's a big no-no. That's one that I have preached for years. It's something I've worked on for years is to avoid, and then I go and do it. Now, if you know me, mistake number 2 is almost as bad as mistake number 1. On a multi-day backpacking trip, we did our 4-day trip into Pinto Lake that we do every spring. And for our trip this year, I forgot to load movies onto my phone. I'm a movie guy. I don't like reading. So, you know, when I want to relax and wind down at the end of the day, I like throwing a movie on my phone, relaxing in the hammock or curling up in the tent. It's just my thing. That's what I do. I take advantage of the technology available to me. I'm a movie guy. I had one on my Netflix account, so it wasn't like a total loss. But on day 2 of this trip, we got hit with rain for most of the day. So when we got to camp and got set up, we all ended up hunkered down in our hammocks for a couple hours, and I threw a movie on. And I finished watching the movie I was watching the night before, and it was fine. It was a good movie. But when I got to that night, had to rewatch the same movie. And I got to the next night, had to rewatch part of the same movie. It drove me nuts. I usually have like 4 or 5 different movies or a couple TV shows loaded onto my phone before I go on a trip. Like I said, you know, watching a movie, lounging in the hammock, lounging in the tent. That's my way of winding down. That's kind of my thing, and I forgot to do it. For mistake 3, we're sticking with electronics. And on a backpacking trip I did, taking my son out for his first trip, I was in a mad rush to get everything together, and, you know, it was just, my brain was kind of in overdrive, making sure I had everything for me and him, and trying to make sure that I didn't overlook and didn't, you know, forget anything. And in that process, I overlooked and I forgot something. I didn't forget the headlamps, but I forgot to make sure that they were charged. And my 3-year-old needs a nightlight at night. You know, he can't sleep in the pitch black. It scares him. He's a little kid. He gets scared of the dark. And when we were out on this trip and we were getting settled into bed and we go to read our stories, I go to use the headlight to kind of light up the tent a little bit. Realized both headlamps were dead. I know this isn't the biggest mistake I can make because I've got a power bank with me and I've got cords and stuff and I had the ability to charge a headlight, but just at the time it was just a frustrating thing, you know, when you're trying to get a toddler settled into bed and you're trying to read a story and trying to, you know, get a headlight charged up, and you can't read a story in the dark, so it was just one of those things I was just battling with. It was just, you know, a simple mistake, something I overlooked. It's just one of those things when you live with a toddler who loves headlights and loves playing with, you know, flashlights and that kind of stuff. He drained every single headlight that I have. So I have since ended up storing my headlights in a different place. He's got one that he has access to all the time. He can play with and do whatever he wants. That's his headlight. But Dad's headlights stay hung up, and I just make sure that they're hung up and they're not going to get discharged and used all the time while Dad's off at work. For number 4, we're going to stick with mistakes I made when it came to backpacking with my toddler. On the second trip I took my toddler out on, we went out to a spot called Eagle Lake. I went with my friends Nathan and Devin. Fantastic place if you're going with young kids or, you know, your first backpacking trip, very, very short hike. I thought I would do something a little bit different this time, and I decided to take our stroller. Now, I've got a really good jogging stroller. It's, you know, got big inflatable tires on it. It's got shocks and everything. I thought it would work really well for those times when he got a little bit tired. You know, I do have the Trail Magic carrier. I can throw him in the front, but you know, when you've got 45, 50 pounds on your back and a 40-pound toddler in your front, that's a ton of weight. And I know somebody's gonna say, oh, 90 pounds, that's not bad, you know, you just gotta hit the gym, you just gotta get tough, you know, start working out, you can do it, right? I don't know anybody who wants to carry 90 pounds on their back. That's just stupid for an extended period of time, unless you're in the military. On a backpacking trip, I don't wanna do it, that's not my thing. I thought maybe let's take the stroller. Might be a good idea. Terrible idea. Just, it didn't work out. You know, any of the big rocks and stuff on trail, the tires were getting caught, and I ended up most of the trip when I was pushing the stroller, I was like leaning down on the handle to get like the front tire to pop up. So I was just pushing it on the 2 tires. There's a lot of sections where like one of us was on the front end carrying it and one person was on the back end lifting it over obstacles and stuff. Just, it was a pain, not something I will ever do again, but you live and learn. So yeah, I'm not taking a stroller on any more backpacking trips. Holy smokes, we are already on number 5. And another mistake when it came to backpacking with a toddler. For the first attempt at taking Maddox out on a backpacking trip, Bo and I had a trip planned out, and we decided we were going to try and do like we normally do and get hiking early in the morning, which for me usually means waking up at about 3:30, 4 a.m., leaving my house by like 4:15. So the plan was to just get up, get the truck loaded up, go into his room while he's sleeping, pick him up, carry him out, pop him in the car seat, he'll go right back to sleep, we'll end up driving, he'll wake up, we'll have breakfast, hit the trail. Just didn't end up working out like that. As we were headed out the door, Mom had to get up, come give him a kiss goodbye. That woke him up. He was awake, did not fall back asleep. So I had company on the drive. That was kind of cool. But then about 2 hours into the drive, he started puking. I'm going to assume it was just the shock to his body from waking up really early. But yeah, 2 hours into the drive, puked everywhere, multiple times. We ended up turning around and heading home. Obviously, I gave Bo a shout, let him know, hey, sorry, man, I'm not going to make it. We're turning around and heading home. Maddox is not feeling very good. So Bo had stopped to let his kids use the washroom and that kind of thing. And he inevitably found out that he had forgot his tent at home. So he turned around and went home too. So 2 mistakes in one trip. If you enjoy videos like this and you think making maybe a yearly series about this, you know, like I said, 2025, maybe I can do my backpacking mistakes of 2025 and kind of make a series about this. Let me know in the comments down below. I love getting your guys' input on the direction of the channel and kind of the way things are going to go. And if you guys are looking for, you know, some tips and tricks on how to avoid making mistakes like this, check out either of these videos here. I'm sure you'll find something there you'll enjoy. As always, guys, you know I'm Maddie. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.